Hello, everybody. Intuition here. Thank you so much for making some time and space for us. Today, we would like to talk about ascension. What is ascension? Everybody seems to want to be talking about it these days, but when you ask specifics about what ascension is and means to a person, just like when you ask somebody what their idea of heaven is, the quick and cop-out answer that seems to be is, well, words cannot describe how beautiful heaven is. Words cannot even encompass all there is to understand about heaven, all there is to understand about ascension. So, as always, we would like to throw our words at what ascension means, as we may be able to find a few on what that means, in the very least, for the universal principality that we are. And again, we highlight, bold, underline, this is our understanding and our experience of what it is that we understand ascension to be, not your near-death experience, not your understanding, because those are your experiences and your understandings, and those are inherently not my understanding of what it is that means. So, now that that is out of the way, we want to express what it is that we understand ascension to be. And ascension, when we say that, is not when you die and become disembodied and have to reincarnate. Because we are in a jail, in a prison, so to speak. We are trapped. We are cut off from all it is that we come from. Much like we are cut off from the remembrance of all it is that we are. We are... When I say we ascend, and what I mean in the ascension is when we transcend this physical place that we, the 7 universal principalities, created, that you are also an extension of. So therefore we, meaning all of us, even you. So that means when we ascend and transcend this physical place in this physical space, when we're actually able to leave the confinement that we're in and go back to the place in which we collectively actually truly come from, where there are hundreds of thousands of other universal principalities that exist, where God exists, the universal curiosity principality that is God exists, right? But that is not necessarily here, because again, we are kind of closed off from the collective home that we come from. So when we ascend, that is what we mean in that sense. And so therefore, what it means to ascend is to go home. We don't understand it in this idea that many other people, spiritualist religions, say we go back to the collective universal mind, because that would be going back to the universal principality that is God. And not to say that that isn't a process that we all engage in, but it is more the idea that when you get out of jail, the first place that you go usually isn't to your mom and dad's house. You usually go back home. You usually go and check on how the plants are doing or how the wife and kids are. You're not going back to mommy and daddy's house when you have your own home. So that is what I mean, or at least what we understand in the idea of ascension. We go back to our house, our collective home, and we go back to our collective soul family. And spoiler alert, our collective soul family are the 7 universal principalities that you are engaging in each and every single day on this physical planet, in this physical space. Now, they're a little less insane, a little less out of balance, because again, at that point we have all ascended, so therefore we are in our balanced or right mind, so we're not as out of balance, causing chaos, mayhem, whatever out of balance principality, whatever happens for that principality when they come out of balance. We're not living in that when it is that we go back home. We are able to be in the balanced principalities that we all are, and therefore be adults, if you want to call it that. Be in our right minds, be in the remembrance of all it is that we are. So when we go back home, we go back to our soul family, and for us, it is the 7 universal principalities that we have been with since day one on our time in this place that we have all created together. However, just like On some level, you get to choose your family, not necessarily your birth family, but you could choose to move away from them. You could choose to still engage with them. You could choose to not call them on the holidays. You could do the same after we all ascend. We have much to talk about, all of us, all 7 of us, to see if we still want to continue to transverse the universe together in the way that we were before we all fell into this dense place. So we all get to decide if we are still going to evolve together or if we're going to call it quits after this jail imprisonment, confinement, after this time that we spent in jail together. Because time, regardless of whether it's in jail or in any physical place, changes people and it changes universal principalities. So when we all ascend, we may not choose to want to be together in the way in which we have been together in this jail cell and the way that we used to be together before we fell in density. But regardless, that is who it is that we were returning home to. We were returning home to us, our more balanced understandings of the universal principalities that we are. But we also get to return home to our divine love, our soulmate, our true soulmate, the soulmate that is truly our other half in every sense of the word. The one that completes us, the one not that completes us in a codependent, narcissistic, you are my possession and I am your object type of way, but completion in a interdependent way in which I can create beautiful things on my own, and I love the beautiful things that I create, but when we create together, it adds such a beautiful dimension, a beautiful vibrancy that otherwise my own creation would not have if you had not put your beautiful, blessed hand upon it. So it is more, you are in concert with your other half who has been either patiently or impatiently waiting for you to return home. And how divine and exciting that is if you are not excited to return back to all the 7 universal principalities. So it is the idea that when we ascend, we go back home, as above, so below, and not in the way in which many individuals say it here, when it is this idealized version of as above, so below, but in a very more parallel way, as above, so below. We return to our family, so to speak. We return to our divine significant other, who we all have. We move back to our divine partnering. We go back to the space in which we are most accustomed to being in when we are not here in this jail cell that is this place and planet and universe in which we all created together. So for us, that is what ascension means. That is how we understand what ascension is. And there are many ways to ascend. By many, we mean 2. But those are different conversations and different topics for a different video. But we did want to express what it is, in the very least, what our idea and understanding is of ascension, and the importance of understanding what ascension is. Because when you understand what ascension is, there is less of a fog, less of an idealized nature to what heaven or what you ascending means. For many, because ascension is not really clearly explained, it just seems so abstract and vague that you really can't conceive it. And not to say that the words that I'm saying really do the place where we come from justice, because it truly does not. Words are a third density idea, construct of communication, in a way that we don't communicate where it is that we originate from. So we're not even speaking in the languaging that does justice to the place and where it is that we come from, the space and where it is that we come from. So that is our understanding of what ascension is. That is not maybe what you understand ascension is, and that is okay, because again, we are we and you are you, and we, just because we have a different understanding of what ascension means, doesn't mean that you're wrong, and it doesn't mean that I'm right. It simply means that because we are different universal principalities, we have different lenses, and so therefore we have different understandings and remembrances of what it means to be home and what it means to ascend. Just like if 7 different people see a car crash, we're all going to see the same car crash, so to speak, but it's going to be through our lens. And so therefore, because it's through our lens, we're going to see something very, very, very different than what another universal principality, what another person is going to see. But that doesn't make me wrong, and that doesn't make them wrong. It simply means that between all 7 of us, we have the whole story. And if we all 7 of us work together, then guess what? We get the car to start, and we all get to go home and ascend together. But again, I'm not going to do a spoiler, because I'm not going to go into how we all ascend. But again, one way is collectively. And if we all collectively ascend together, then that means we all have to acknowledge and not judge another individual, another universal principality's understanding of what it is that they are in concert with, what it is that they're in knowing of. It is simply to take it in and say, thank you for seeing it in that way. You know, I was just focused on the bumper of this car, and it is all dinged in and dinged out. But because I was so focused on the bumper, I did not even realize what you realized, which is the whole front end fell off. And had I just sat and worked on this bumper and gone into the car wouldn't start because the whole front end is off. And had you not told me, well, maybe I wouldn't have even realized that the whole front end fell off. Or maybe by the time I realized that the whole front end fell off, it would have been too late. So it is more of just appreciating everybody's perspectives. Doesn't mean that they're right, doesn't mean that they're wrong, doesn't mean that you have to agree. But it certainly doesn't mean that you have to disagree either. So we offer that to you. We are, as always, appreciative of the space and the time in which you create for us. And we wish you well on your ascension, on your understanding, on your remembrance of all it is that you are. And as always, we wish you well wishes on your journey, wherever that may be.